All right, so we're good to go.
Yeah. All right, so Bob laid the groundwork for a really excellent talk here. He talked a little bit about an MVP, and we're going to dive into that. This talk is entirely about the MVP. So what is an MVP? We're going to start with, come on, baby. Hold on. It takes you. Okay, so minimum viable product. So we hear a lot of definitions of this thrown around. What we're going to do today is debunk all of those definitions, figure out a really specific definition that you guys can use to build your companies. And by the end of the time, by the time we're done, you're actually not going to give two shits about this actual term. It's actually not going to have any value at all because it's not particularly interesting in and of itself, in my opinion. The way you think about a minimum viable product is. The way that we get to this definition, that is going to change your company. You guys ready? You ready? All right, here we go. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you what you think your minimum viable product is. All right? So I want each of you to think, here is what my minimum viable product is. Minimum viable product. It's okay if what you say doesn't gel with what Bob said or what I say. That's fine. I just want you thinking about it. And then we're going to go around the room and we're going to talk to everybody about what they think it is. All right? So when you're ready, raise your hand and then we'll just give me one sentence what your MVP is. Andres.
Voice activated, simple voice messaging from app to app.
And so the actual, like, what's the thing? Are you going to build something? Are you going to?
Yeah.
So you're going to build an app.
An iOS app where you do in-app voice activated messaging.
Okay, so he's going to build an app. Who else? Who's going to go next? Yep.
I'm going to build like what Bob said, a dummy demo.
Okay.
That kind of simulates what would happen when you go to Quera and you want to travel and discover new websites.
Okay, and where's the demo going to live?
There's some really good apps for iPad and stuff like that
Great.
that you can simulate.
Okay, so you're going to build a fake app on the platform that you're going to actually sell the product on. Great. Who's next? Yep, Leslie.
Yeah, so I think I would do a demo, a very bare bones website.
Okay.
Where I could present to the marketeer how to create a campaign from start to bottom and show them mock-ups of not mock-ups but real images of they will input some data and in a fake way will show the traffic so they can understand in a tangible way from.
Got it. Fake website or a website with a demo, right? Maritza.
It will be the product, the app with the ability to exchange information.
Okay.
And with that, I can explore first.
Okay, so you're going to build an app, exchange that information, it's going to work. Yeah. You great? Juan?
I'm thinking of making a mock-up or making it on a web page or simple slides in a Visual Basic application. Doesn't do anything on background.
Okay.
But it will give at least sense to the user what I'm trying to do.
Okay. So sorry, is it a slide? Is it a mock-up or is it an actual app?
Well, it could be an actual app, but it doesn't do anything on background.
Okay. Okay, so it's an app that you interact with on the desktop, but it doesn't actually do anything.
You just click and do all the interaction, but it's nothing happening on background.
Okay, wonderful. Photography?
Taking the pictures people already took from an event and putting them up together and showing them to them, like the pictures everyone took.
Okay.
To see how they react to it, seeing what everybody took in one same album.
And so is that, talk to me about how the relationship for what the MVP is there with respect to the product you already have.
Oh no, I'm just talking hypothetically if I didn't have an MVP. If I have
okay. So if you're going to build another app, if you're going to build something else, this is what you do.
If I already didn't have the app.
Okay, so would you consider your app now your MVP, or was that something else?
Well, it's more than MVP already.
Okay. So you've gone, if you're going to start photography over again, what would your MVP be?
What I told you, not doing an app.
Oh, okay, so you, okay, cool. All right, Juan Carlos.
In my case, my MVP is what I already did.
Okay.
Yeah, I already uploaded.
Okay, great. Memory Palace.
I think it would be something like just a real simple, like almost like a schematic where you just kind of overhead sea of palace.
Okay.
Nothing complicated,
Yep.
three-dimensional or anything.
Okay.
Just almost like an as-built of a building.
Okay.
And then with just very simple pathways through it.
Okay.
Just like you could set up a line and just plot different points along it.
Great.
And at those different points, you can assign an image. That's it.
Okay.
That's the bare bones.
All right. Piece of paper. All right.
Yeah.
And then James.
I would say probably having a beta version for Android.
Okay.
Or test how they react.
For expanding to Android. Okay. Marita?
I have a question because the minimum viable product that I mentioned doesn't consider that the core and the heart of the application is supposed to be this peer-to-peer help and assistance.
Okay.
And if that is what distinguishes the application, then I need to provide that marketplace where people ask for help and what do you think?
I think that depending on what phase you are in the company, that it's better to build that second thing than the first. But we'll talk about exactly like how to answer your question. I'm going to give you a formula that will answer your question. Okay, so now you've all kind of sort of thought, here's what my MVP is, or here's what it'd be if I was starting over again. We're going to dive into the definitions right now. Like I said, there are many of them around there. So some of the definitions are, okay, so an MVP has just those features that allow the product to be deployed and no more. So this is from Wikipedia. So they're focusing, they're saying an MVP is something that lets you release something. Now, I don't happen to like this definition because it focuses on deployment, and deployment isn't our goal. Our goal isn't to launch something, and also, like, I could deploy anything, right? I could deploy this mouse, but I mean, what does that mean? That's not answering a question, that's not building my business. So I'm not a big fan of this definition. Another definition, from Venture Hacks, an MVP is the product that with just the necessary features to get money and feedback from early adopters. Now I like this one better because it helps us drive towards our goal, money and feedback. Now what I prefer though is knowing whether or not we're trying to get money or trying to get feedback. Because some products we build, does it need to be so complex that I can get both feedback and money from a product? Is there something smaller I can build and just get feedback? And something smaller I can build and just get revenue? Right, so the definition that I like right now, and this is changing all the time, it's one from Lean Startup Machine, and that is that the MVP is the simplest version of your product to test your riskiest hypothesis. What's the simplest, smallest thing you can build to test the thing that is most risky to your business? That's the MVP. Right, so from there we're gonna jump off. So another way to think about that, the least amount of work you can do. All right, we're gonna go back a little bit. Least amount of work you can do. Okay, least amount of work you can do to test a piece of your business model. All right, so now the business model canvas, this is what Bob showed you. How many of you guys have seen this before? Seen it? Okay, and how many of you guys have filled one out? No one. Okay, okay. So what's the emphasis here is that you're all building companies and not products, right? We sort of think that our product is going to be like the center point and be the vast majority of our company. But you can look at this canvas and just get a visual representation that it's not. Your product is this one section out of 9. So to like focus all of your energy on, I'm going to build this awesome product and it's going to have these features and it's going to test all these things and it's going to do all this crazy stuff, is to ignore the other 8 components of your actual business. So when we think about MVP, we're thinking about what can we do, what's the simplest thing we can do to test what's in this box here. This is the value proposition box, what you're building. Or we're thinking, what's the simplest thing we can do, the smallest piece we can do to test our revenue stream. You don't use an MVP to test things like customer relationships or customer segments, typically. So it's just a tool. It's one tool. Like interviewing is a tool to test something in your business. Does this make sense? If it makes sense, everybody say C.
C.
Yeah, gracias.
See, just
team.
Okay, so can you have more than one MVP under this definition? If you think no, raise your hand.
If you have more than one revenue stream.
Can you have, yes, you can have more than one revenue stream, yes. So raise your hand if you think, yes, you can have more than one MVP. Yes, everyone's hand should be up. Yes, the answer is yes, you can have more than one MVP. It's just a tool to test the riskiest thing in your business, all right? That's all we're talking about.
It's only 1 minimum.
What was that?
Now, there is only 1 minimum, so I don't know.
No, no, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. Yes, okay, so let's talk about minimum and maximum. So minimum isn't in the strictest sense, isn't in your entire, it's like out of all the things I will do for my business.
Is the local minimum.
Yes, exactly. So the local minimum is the least I can do to solve this problem, not the least I will do for my entire company. Let's say good. So thank you for your smart-ass comment. That was helpful. Okay, so now let's do a little story time. Little story time. We're going to talk about Justin's awesome failures in life. Okay, so what happens if you don't build an MVP? So I'm back at Microsoft. This is 5 years ago. I'm working there for, I guess, 5 years. A family friend says to us, because she knows that we want to start a company, she says, you know what our company needs? Our company needs a way to scan medical records and view them online. And we say, great, it'll be done shortly. You guys want this solution, you're willing to pay for it, I want to start a company, boom, build it, let's go do it. 18 months later, we launch. Yay! So it only takes us a year and a half, but we launch. Yay, that's great, right? We have a product, we have a customer, but they barely use us. They barely use our technology at all. So what the hell happened? So we didn't ask the hard questions when we were getting started. So we didn't ask things like, how exactly does your business work? So normally when I say, hey, you're going to go talk to the white label guys, you're going to talk to the guys who use your app to build other people's apps, you need to find out what their business actually does, how they make money. It's because we didn't do it. And so our customer was saying, hey, build this thing, but we didn't know, are they asking for the right thing? Do they even know what they need? Is there a market for what they need outside of them? So we didn't ask. We didn't ask when they would use our product. We didn't test how often they'd use our product. We didn't ask, who has to approve our product amongst all of the different players in the space. So we didn't do any of this stuff, and so they didn't really use our product that much. Okay, it's fine. So that's one customer. Screw it. There are others. There are other companies just like theirs. There must be other people who need this product. So we tried to sell it to those other companies. We did conferences and cold calls. No one wanted it. At the end of the day, nobody really wanted it. Because we weren't solving a major pain for them. We were offering a solution at a lower price, sure, than the competitors, but no one was losing sleep over that. No one was, oh God, my business is failing because I'm paying slightly more than I'd like for this solution, right? They didn't care. They wanted to know how would their customers benefit. How would their business grow by using a product? And we didn't test that at all. So, and because it took us so long, it took us 18 months, the market changed underneath us. And because we weren't iterating quickly, we weren't testing, we didn't take the temperature, and the market changed. So at the end of the day, we wasted 18 months and $50,000 of our own money. Just going down the toilet by not having an MVP. All right. So all was not lost. We had a new idea, and we also we got our butts kicked. Our asses were sore. We just got spanked bad. 50K, 18 months, but now we have sort of a renewed energy. Like, what went wrong, and how can we prevent this from happening again? And that's when 4 Steps to the Epiphany, Bob Dorff, Steve Blank, Eric Reese, the Lean Startup crew, we started reading up about this stuff. Oh, there's a way that you can test this stuff before you waste 18 months, $50,000 of your own money to go and figure out what you want to build. So we're doing electronic release of information. The details don't particularly matter. It's for sharing medical records with you guys and insurance companies from hospitals. But our first MVP, what's our riskiest hypothesis at this point? Do companies care about this new product that we're building? That's our riskiest hypothesis. So, what's our MVP? It's a cold email. It's not a product at all. It's just an email. We're trying to test our riskiest hypothesis. Do companies care? If I send you a cold email and you reply, I've got some indication that you care. That's all you need for an MVP. All right, so this is the email we sent. You can see here, it's sort of long, but the juicy stuff is right in the middle. We're trying to digitize release of information workflows to help providers qualify for stimulus funds. You don't have to know what that means, but the guys we were sending this to, they knew exactly what that meant. And so we sent out 10 cold emails, and we got 5 replies. 50% response rate. They don't know me from Adam. That tells us something. That tells us the companies care. This is something they're interested in. Great. Hypothesis resolved. We think it's true. We think they care. What's next? Next riskiest assumption. That they'll pay. MVP? PowerPoint deck. That's it. That's all you need. We don't need to go waste another 18 months figuring out, building a product. We can test this. Nothing we're building, in fact, nothing that you guys are building is so complicated that you actually have to build it to really get a sense of how badly they want it. So, set up interviews or calls with all of those clients. Showed them how exactly the system worked. Told them how much it would cost, how much they would save. And at the end of the day, we had 5 meetings, and 0 payment. Not a single person wanted it. So they were curious about it because things were changing in the marketplace. This is when stimulus funds were coming in. This is when the Obama administration, they'd done the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act, so lots of money was coming in. They were curious. They just weren't in the right position to buy. So conclusion, they won't pay. Now, is that a failure to us? Absolutely not. Because instead of wasting 18 months to build a product plus 6 months to sell it, we spent 3 months to discover there was no business there. So, a PowerPoint MVP, our MVP, saved us 21 months and $50,000. How many PowerPoint decks have you built that are worth $50,000? Right? So this is why it's really, really important that you guys build your MVPs, the smallest thing possible, to test your riskiest assumption. All right. So now, to the people in here who are doing B2B, this is a B2B play. We're going to talk about your new thoughts, anything new that's kind of juiced up around MVPs. Okay? So Leslie, you're first. What's new? Anything different? Anything changed about MVPs? You talked about building a website before.
Yeah. And I thought from the hypothetical point of view because my product is, I have a beta. I have a lot more than that. But I've done what you said before. I've done PowerPoint business for other things, and they work. I've done the whole emails, and I've gotten replies that lead me to a conversation. And some have lead to to paying customers, and others they haven't. So I totally agree with you. Especially when you're doing B2B, it's not as easy, I think, to go and try to validate and pivot so much with the customer. Eventually you could do it if it's something new, if it's something they need and it's not available over the market that they can go and pick somebody else. They will allow you, to iterate, and eventually it becomes kind of a custom product for them. But I find it kind of difficult. If I go now to a marketing agency, I present my product, I try to get, their feedback, this and that, and then I come back with whatever, modified what they tell me, and this is something else, and then you understand? I don't think in business, in B2B, it's so easy to do that, rather than with end customers, like a product maybe like photography. They can do a release, and they can get feedback from the people, and they see that feedback is, is not good, they can change it and throw it again, and thumbs up. But in B2B, I don't think that.
So let me make sure I'm understanding. So you're saying that your experience has been, you go and you take a deck to a customer, you try and get some feedback from them, they're B2B, they say, not quite right, I'd like this change, and this change.
What I'm saying is that with B2B, it's not as easy to pivot as you would do with end customers or end consumers versus B2B. Because B2B, you go there, you present something, if there is a good relationship, they will allow you to do that, customize. Otherwise, they will look like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Because in my experience, and I have been doing consulting for a long time, businesses, they get you because they believe that you as a supplier, you as a product provider, you know what they need. And if you don't convince them of that.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure that we switch your point of view real quick. You are not a consultant. They did not bring you in because of your expertise. You are solving their problem. So if you come in and you say, I'm looking for your feedback on this, and if it doesn't meet your needs, you're a solution provider, you're not a consultant. So if the thing you're building doesn't solve their problems and they need a bunch of tweaks that are not consistent with other people, you haven't found a problem that is consistently solvable with your product. That means you, yeah.
I get you. I get you. What I'm saying is, I think that in business to business, it's not as easy to pivot as you would do with another type of product directed to end consumers.
Okay, so we're gonna take this offline because I don't think we're on the same page.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that we get to everybody
Sure.
else. Oh. Okay. So who else do we have who's doing B2B? Jose, B2B. What's any changes in your minimum viable product?
Yeah, well, the PowerPoint deck is a very good move because I can do the same thing that I was talking about at the beginning with PowerPoint.
Yep, great, love it. Maritza.
I don't know, because I consider that the two examples that you gave, the PowerPoint and the email, to me that's market research.
So tell me, if you build, so we're going to put a PowerPoint, so here's your PowerPoint MVP, and here's your app MVP. What risky assumption are you validating by building the app for that? Oh, you can ask them if they'll pay. I mean, if you put an app in front of them versus a PowerPoint in front of them, you're not getting any more information about whether they're paid. You're still showing them something fake, right? You're still showing them that not the whole thing. The only thing you've taken off the table by building the app is that you can build an app. Who cares? Everybody can build an app. It's easy. iGen apps will build you the app. Don't waste any time building the app. That'll take you too much time. Literally you can build the MVP. You don't need anyone else to build your app for you. And your MVP, by the way, can talk about that exchange of in peer-to-peer stuff. If you're worried about, oh, my app won't have because it'll be too simple. Yeah?
I mean, I made a mistake, really, because since the beginning I thought that I didn't want to start talking to people until I had something concrete to show. And that was my big mistake. I started to reprogram.
Yeah, no, I mean, we made the same mistake. We made the same mistake. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Justin, I'm wondering, I'm concerned though, that maybe the PowerPoint deck cannot adequately convey the solution that you're providing. Maybe.
So if you can't convey the problem that you're solving to your customer.
Well, no, I mean, no, you can maybe articulate it, but I'm saying like the way that your product would solve it, in a way that would convince them sufficiently to pay for it.
You're right. There are some cases that you can't. Some cases. B2B typically, not that way. Because B2B is like transactional, enterprisey, boring stuff. You know, if you're building a cool, sexy way to surf the mobile web, maybe you need something real. So I'm not saying that these is one size fits all, right? But I do want to sort of like get the neurons firing. What can I build that's less? What can I build that's smaller? All right, and then Christian, grind task. Gone, not here.
You got to leave.
Yeah.
It's an early flight.
Okay, so grind task, the answer is the same. PowerPoint. He should be able to articulate the thing and then build a PowerPoint. Okay, great. So that's B2B. Now let's talk about B2C for all the rest of y'all out there. So this is another, pulling from my experience. It's an iPhone app that helps you be on time. Details, again, aren't particularly relevant. It's just an app that helps remind you when to leave so that you're on time. So we've done some customer development stuff first, but when we talk about MVPs, the very first MVP we built, our riskiest hypothesis, that we can build it. That we actually have the skills to build this app. Because maybe the platform doesn't make it capable. Maybe it's just not even possible. So we decided that, hey, our first MVP is gonna be a prototype. So to your point, this first MVP was code. It was actually code this time instead of something else. But we did the least amount of coding possible. 24 hours of coding. Literally, 24 hours. Start on a Saturday at noon or something, end Sunday at noon. Done, that's it. 24 hours, that's done. The answer is yes, we can. We can build this thing in 24 hours. That's it. Okay. Next MVP, now that we've taken that off the table, the riskiest hypothesis. Do non-friends care about this app? Bob was talking about this, right? Bob said, stay away from friends and family, they're going to lie to you. That's who we talked to before. Do non-friends care about this? Our next MVP, a landing page. And what's the product? The simplest thing we can do to test whether or not people care about our product. So here's our landing page. You can see that it's very, very simple. I built this in an hour, the tool called Unbounce. They do most of the work. We got a little bit of press in Forbes and Lifehacker. That's another indication that people care, by the way, if you can get press.
How did you get that?
So we got press because we built an app in 24 hours. We launched it in 24 hours. This thing, this prototype, it's full of bugs. It's crappy, right? You saw my other app. You know what I'm really needed to release to the world and charge people. This one, the battery gets drained, the UI is awful. It mostly works, but sometimes doesn't. We released it. I have some friends who this is something we talk about. We released it in the Android, in Google Market. And then I told them, hey, we built this app in 24 hours. They liked it. They gave us some press. And then we added this little email sign-up form here on our landing page. This was asking, email me when there's an iPhone version. That's what this landing page was. So this is our product. This is our MVP. Do non-friends care about this? Within 1 month of launching, we have 3,000 people sign up to say, I want to know when the iPhone version is available. 3,000 people. In fact, during Bob's talk, I had 70 more people sign up for the iPhone version, just while I was sitting there. We can even take a look now and see what's going on. Yeah, these are all new people who signed up. So this is my MVP at work. This is my product doing my work for me. We didn't have to write any of the iPhone code. We didn't have to waste time and design and money and all that stuff. We're testing. People want this. All right, so now with that, what is our next riskiest hypothesis? Oh, conclusion? Yeah, people care. People care about this app. Our next MVP? The iPhone version, right? We got 3,000 people who want it. Let's go build this sucker. Or not. What's our riskiest assumption at this point? We've tested that people they care, they'll sign up for an email, but we haven't tested will they pay. And we can build the iPhone app and we can try and we can see that could be months down the road. Why not instead we do a Kickstarter project? We can see if the promise that we're providing people, be on time, blah, 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 whatever the hell our value proposition is. We can put that in a video, and then we can charge people and say, if you like this idea so much that you're willing to pay us before we've written any code, then yes, I will go build it. If you give us $25,000, I'll build it. If you don't, great, I won't build it. We're done. Okay, so now we're going to go back, the B2C players. Juan Carlos, talk to me, MVP. What's the next thing you want to build, and what's the least you can do to test it?
The next thing I want to build is that it's not the biggest next thing that I want to build. Is that the app can actually, you can play music and the app will change the chords for you. And my way to test it is to do coding. Do the coding and do a stream and text a document that gets a document, you can understand the document, you can process the data, and I can play.
Okay. Okay. So what's the riskiest? Thinking about this as a business, as a whole business, and that's the value proposition. Out of that 9, that you're adding a new value proposition. What's the riskiest assumption that you have about that entire business?
That the riskiest assumption is that it's not that easy to play. But I'm saying it's easy, and actually it is not easy.
Easy? You mean to use the app?
To play, yeah.
Okay.
My
So
that everyone can play it easily.
Okay.
And the riskiest thing is that it is not that easy to play.
Okay. I don't know your business or your market at all, but I'm just going to ask: how confident are you that people are willing to pay for this new feature?
I'm very comfortable.
Okay. So that's less risky. You are more sure that people will pay for that than you are that they can.
That something like that can be done that easily, or even
Okay.
we can do it.
If that's true, then
I think we can do it, but it will take some big thoughts to make it work on the small device, so you can see the words and you can see the chords, and it will change and it will do everything. In the iPad perhaps it's easier, but in the iPhone,
okay.
the
If that's really a true statement, then that sounds like the great MVP. I would caution you to test whether or not you're really sure people will pay for it. But if you are confident, then great.
Yeah, in this case, I have a question. Like in my case, in my app, or in After, I'm kind of a customer. Like,
okay.
That I'm part of that crowd to be a customer. See,
so, but you're a sample size of one.
I'm a sample size of one, of course, yeah, but then I have many friends around some musicians, and I get input from, but then again, you have friends, you say, yeah.
Right. So I mean, to Bob's point, I mean, Bob talked about obviously no friends, but you also had that score, that number in the bottom right-hand corner with the number of people you've interviewed. One isn't good enough, right? I mean, to really, if it's really your riskiest, I would say that's still your riskiest assumption that people want this.
Yeah.
And then I would look for a way to test that. Can you build something in your app, again, I don't know, that's like a fake button that says, play the chords with me or something like that, and put a dollar amount on it, $9.99, hit that button. And then when someone hits it, it says, oh, thanks, we're almost ready to roll this out. And you just count the number of people.
If you even see the what Smil does, you're almost like simulating that you're playing. It's very, very successful app. And you're not actually playing anything. You're playing, in Magic Piano, you're playing just some bubbles, and you play music. So people like it.
So using someone else's product as a success, as an indicator that people want your stuff, is to guarantee that you will never, ever, ever beat them. And if that's okay, then fine. You can always ride in their coattails and use them as marketing.
Yeah.
But if you ever want to be bigger than them, you have to outsmart them. You have to know what your customer wants better than they do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Juan. What do we got? What's your MVP for the next thing you're going to build? Give me one sentence because I want to.
For next thing.
Yeah. Of stography. What's the next riskiest thing of stography?
We want to test about people, if they care about their anonymity and things like that.
Okay, great. And what's the simplest thing you could build to test that?
Build.
Or are you going to interview?
Yeah, I'll try not to build. Just go out and interview and go to events.
I'll count that as a win. Okay, Andres.
Yes, I would like to know if this will be useful to them and if they will pay for it. I would like to have one of those shut up and take my money moments.
Yeah.
So I know it will be useful.
And
I was thinking, like, I don't have to go, maybe I can make like a short video.
okay.
Small
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah, small presentation. Yours is great for
You
Kickstarter.
already though. You've got to come already.
So Kickstarter is like, I mean, it's a perfect model. You've got a compelling video, you put it together. Okay, so Antonio.
Well, I'm a little conflicted on my MVP because might be surveys or something. I just want to figure out if people are actually interested in trying to find a way to bridge that app experience to navigate the internet. People actually want to navigate the internet instead of having it be aggregated by a news aggregator.
Sure, right. Okay, so right now I wouldn't call that an MVP. Because you're still in the problem discovery phase, which is just fine. That's absolutely perfect. The MVP, so in product discovery, you're pulling information from customers. You're like, hey, what's your problem? What's going on? MVP, you're going to put something out there and see how it does. So that you don't have one is perfect. I would rather hear that. I'm going to go survey and keep finding information than I'm going to build an app and go test something that you're not sure of.
I was wondering a little bit previously when you were talking about the slides. I'm wondering if the sample size of 5 companies that you presented the slides, and did you guys always wonder like maybe we should keep on trying?
Keep going. So our thought was there are only 20 players in the space anyway.
Okay.
That the 50% that replied were the most interested in the space. If 0% of the people who were most interested buy, then there's nothing here. Yeah. So it was a small sample of a small pool.
But I can see you're good at slides. But I'm wondering, like, maybe could there have been like a better slide deck to convince them to pay?
I see. To me, I'm not chasing a business that I have to nail every single slide right perfectly for someone to give me money. Okay. I want the business where I can take a deuce on someone's desk and they still give me money.
All right.
That's
We have
this is
that
I want.
business.
Okay, and then Sebastian.
Well, we've been thinking a lot about this actually, and there's sort of there was a complex, product that we were building that was going to help us build additional products. But really, the simplest thing that we're going to do is we're going to just build one very simple palace that is not going to be created by the computer. We're going to create it ourselves. It's going to just be built in 3D, just like a simple level. And it's just going to code the 44 presidents. I know we're in an election year right now, so we're going to try to just release it free and just put it out there and see what people's feedback is on that.
Okay. So your riskiest hypothesis is what?
Well, I guess it would be, do people care?
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. I think that's reasonable. I think you could probably test that with interviews, as opposed to actually building, because you don't need to build anything, right? And then in interviews have the extra byproduct of like getting you more information about what other problems they have. But we can talk about that in office hours. All right. So in conclusion, what is an MVP? It can be a landing page. It can be a PowerPoint deck. It can be a prototype. It can be a Kickstarter project. It can be any of these things. But what it is more than anything, it's the simplest version of your product to test the riskiest hypothesis.
Well, I guess, yeah. Does it work?
Does your app work, or does this work?
No, that's all right.
Oh, I see. You're thinking about the other one. Okay.
Can it also be a video?
If the video has some sort of measurable action, maybe you're wondering, do people care enough about my product, whatever it is, and then you're measuring it by how long they watch the video. You know what I'm saying?
For example, the Dropbox guy, he put a video together showing the house was going to be Dropbox, but it wasn't real. It was a CGI explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an animated PowerPoint deck.
Yeah.
You probably had some sort of sign up or link or counting whether or not, because just to put it out there is nothing. You have to measure it as well. Be an experiment.
People signed up.
All right. So that, my friends, is your MVP. That's it.